7 Boys. In a village located in the Aceh region, there lived a husband and wife who lived with their 7 biological children. They live in harmony, peace, and happiness. The eldest child is 10 years old, while the youngest is 2 years old. Both of their parents worked as vegetable farmers in a garden. These vegetables are sold to the market to meet their needs, and the rest they use to eat together. One time, the village was hit by a long drought. Water sources began to dry up. The land became parched. Residents began to be confused to find a source of water and food. Plants become dry and die due to drought, as well as the vegetables in the family garden of the 7 sons, too. Their parents began to worry about their fate in the future. Raising 7 young children is not easy. Finally, they consulted to solve the problem. With a heavy heart, they planned to throw away the 7 boys they love. "I'm really afraid to throw our children in the forest," said the mother of 7 boys to her husband. "I also do not have the heart, but what else should I do?" "We can no longer afford to give them food," said the husband. "If you intend to throw them into the middle of the forest, how can you not find out that we are going to throw them away?" asked the wife. "Look, we invite them to look for firewood to the middle of the forest. When we reached the middle of the forest and it was time to rest, we pretended to find drinking water and left them," explained the husband. "Okay, if that's your plan," said the mother. The conversation between the 2 parents was actually heard by the 3rd child. However, because the child did not want to be scolded by his parents, he just kept silent. The child only pretended to be asleep even though tears were rolling down his eyelids, because soon they would be thrown away by their own parents. The next day, the 7 boys were brought by their parents to look for firewood in the forest. Not usually they are taken to the middle of a shady forest. However, they were not suspicious of this, except for the 3rd child who already knew about his parents' plans. They started collecting firewood with joy. They found lots of wood to make firewood, because the forest is very dense and overgrown with trees. Towards noon, the mother took her 7 sons to rest. The parents asked their children to stay at the rest area without following them to look for drinking water. "My children, Mom and Dad will go away for a while to look for water sources, because our drinking water supply is running out. You guys stay here. Mom and Dad will be back soon," said the father to his children. "We leave you for a while." "Okay, Mom and Dad will be back soon," said the mother replied. "Hurry back well, Mother," said the youngest. Their father and mother rushed to leave the 7 boys. They no longer ignored the words of their youngest child, because they had intended to leave them in the middle of the forest. After a while, finally the 7 children started to get restless. The eldest suggested to his younger siblings that they should follow their parents who were looking for water sources. But this was prevented by the 3rd child. "Don't, bro. I already know that our parents intend to leave us in the middle of this forest. It's useless if we follow them," said the 3rd brother. "What do you mean, my brother?" The eldest was dissatisfied with his brother's statement. "You see, last night I overheard our father and mother's conversation. They plan to leave us in the middle of the forest because they are no longer able to raise us. They can't give us food because of this long drought." The 2nd child also asked, "Why did you just tell us?" "I'm afraid that Mom and Dad will be angry. That's why I'm telling it now," replied the 3rd child. The eldest sighed. Now he would be the one responsible for saving his younger siblings. It was getting dark. Fortunately, they were finally able to find a large and shady tree for shelter. Moreover, the shady tree has a large hole in the middle of the trunk, so that the eldest and his younger siblings can rest there. My brothers, you must stay where you are. I will climb this tree to its branches. Who knows, there is a puff of smoke around this area. If there is, it means that there is a village not far from this place, said the eldest. His 6 younger siblings obeyed his older brother's orders. The older brother finally climbed the tree to the branch. Luckily, the eldest finally found a puff of smoke not far from where they were. They finally rushed to approach the source of the smoke. After arriving at the source of the smoke, they found a very large house. Maybe this is a giant's house, said one of them. Everyone was stunned by what they saw then. Not long after, a giant woman appeared coming out of the house. Why are you here, you human child? Asked the giantess. We are brothers and we were thrown out by our parents in the forest, answered the eldest. Hearing the speech of the eldest, the giant woman said, All right. You can enter this house, eat the food you like in this house. They were finally invited to enter the giant's house. Inside the giant house, served a lot of delicious food. They ate it voraciously because they were starving. When almost finished eating, the female giant said, Hurry and finish your food, my husband will soon come from hunting. He likes human flesh. You'd better hurry up to the attic of the house to save yourself. The 7 boys rushed to obey the ogress' orders. Luckily, they had reached the attic when the male giant had arrived at the house. I smell delicious meat, that is, human flesh. Where did you hide those humans, my wife? Asked the male giant. They're up in the attic, husband. They are still small, their meat is still small. We should wait until they have grown up, explained the giantess. The next day, the male giant went back to hunt. After her husband went hunting, the ogress ordered the 7 children to come down from the attic of the house and told them to leave. The giantess did not forget to supply them with food, gold and diamonds. Thank you for your kindness, Mother Giant, replied the eldest. They finally said goodbye and immediately left the giant's house. After arriving at an area on the beach, they finally made a boat to cross the ocean. After arriving in a foreign land, the 7 boys sold the gold and diamonds that the giantess had given them. Proceeds from the sale of gold and diamonds were used to buy large tracts of land. The land was eventually divided and processed into plantations and residential houses. They work with tenacity. The 7 brothers helped each other. Time after time passed, they had grown up. The 7 brothers lived in prosperity and harmony. Their life is more than enough. My brothers, I remember Mom and Dad. I miss them, said the youngest. It's true, I also misses them. Even though they have abandoned us, they are still our parents, said the eldest. What if we try to find them? Asked the 6th child. Agree, all answered in unison. Finally, they went to look for the whereabouts of their parents who had long missed. They crossed the ocean, looking from one island to another, from one village to another. The effort was not in vain. They finally found their parents. Both of his parents were old. They live in poverty and apprehensive. With great affection, the 7 boys brought their parents to live together. Their parents never stopped crying because they regretted their actions. They also missed their children. Forgive us, my children. We left you in the forest because we couldn't feed you, said the father with tears in his eyes. Don't regret it, Father. Lucky if we can still meet and regroup. We know that Mom and Dad really love us, said the eldest. Finally, both parents and their 7 children were able to gather together. They live in harmony and peace. The lesson we can take from this folklore is not to hold grudges, always try and do good where we are, and always prioritize independence in our lives.